Arisu has everything money can buy, yet his life is hollow and lonely, and his only comfort is a mysterious late-night school radio show hosted by a girl called Apollo, until one night she vanishes without a trace. Unable to let go, Arisu sets out to find her. The story begins at Furin High School, which has recently changed from an all-boys school into a co-ed institution. The homeroom teacher nervously announces the change, admitting that the transition may be awkward at first, but expressing hope that everyone will learn to get along. Suddenly, Arisu stands up. He bluntly points out the awkward pauses the teacher is taking and demands that the announcement be redone properly, shocking all. Regaining his composure, the teacher deflects the moment and tells Arisu to introduce himself first. Seizing the opportunity without hesitation, Arisu proudly announces himself as the heir to the powerful Yamabuki group, declaring that he is a man destined to carry Japan into the future, boasting with exaggerated confidence that he is already 99% perfect and that, in order to reach absolute perfection, he needs all the girls in the class to tell him they love him. Later, several boys corner Arisu and accuse him of driving away all the girls with his outrageous behavior, but he remains completely unfazed and calmly responds that adversity is what builds character. At that moment, a girl approaches him and frankly admits that she knows the Yamabuki group is extremely wealthy, and that, because of that, she wants to become his girlfriend, prompting Arisu to stand, ask her to whisper something into his ear, and then casually dismiss her after listening, excusing himself under the pretense of going to the restroom. Arisu wanders from classroom to classroom, hoping to finally encounter the girl he seeks. But after failing yet again, he recalls his bleak past when his only reason to keep living is a late-night radio show hosted by a girl who calls herself Apollo. Every night he listens to her voice, imagining an ideal love story unfolding between them, until suddenly a girl sneaks up behind him in the present and whispers, "I love you," into his ear, causing his body to react instinctively. Shocked, Arisu demands to know who she is, but the girl only teasingly reminds him that break time is almost over, and that he never actually went to the restroom, leaving him standing there in confusion. Later, in the cafeteria, Arisu finds himself unable to stop thinking about the girl, whose voice sounds eerily similar to Apollo's, though he convinces himself that he cannot be certain because she caught him at an unfortunate moment. Just then, a girl's voice echoes through the school intercom, and the instant Arisu hears it, he bolts toward the broadcasting room. As he runs, memories of Apollo flood his mind, and he wonders if she might be closer than he ever imagined, recalling how he is once her only listener, how they speak regularly through her show, Midnight Heart Tune, and how close they become, despite never meeting. She often talks about her desire to attend an all-girls school, and after her sudden disappearance from the internet, Arisu gathers every detail from their conversations, realizes she is the same age as him, and deduces that she wants to attend an all-girls school near the ocean, which leads him to discover that only Furin fits those conditions and ultimately enroll there in hopes of getting closer to her. Standing before the broadcasting room door in the present, Arisu takes a deep breath, fully convinced that Apollo is waiting for him on the other side, and that meeting her will finally make him feel whole again. Instead, when he opens the door, he is greeted by 4 girls, forcing him to quickly compose himself, as he explains that he wants to ask them something, only to be immediately scolded for barging in without warning. He apologizes at once, but his gaze lingers on the girls as he notices that each of their voices bears a resemblance to Apollo's, leaving him stunned. One of them, Rikka, casually asks if he is also aiming to go professional, which only confuses Arisu further, until Nene snaps at him for being clueless. Finally, Iko explains that they are members of the broadcasting club, all of whom aspire to build careers using their voices. While Shinobu reveals her ambition to become a news announcer, Iko declares her goal of becoming a VTuber. Nene announces her dream of becoming a voice actress, and Rikka states that she wants to be a singer, leaving Arisu standing there as he takes in the unexpected complication before him. Jokingly, Shinobu mentions that she has already heard rumors about the strange classroom speech of Arisu in which he demands a lover, and before he can properly explain himself, Nene suddenly lashes out physically. Deeply offended, Arisu sharply clarifies that he is not acting out of lust or obsession, and that he is simply searching for someone important to him. But his words are immediately misunderstood when Iko pulls up her VTuber character on a screen and assumes he must have come to see her specifically. But when Arisu firmly denies this, Rikka steps forward and assumes instead that he is there for her, which only increases his irritation as he finally raises his voice and states clearly that he has no ulterior motives toward any of them, and that all he wants is to find Apollo. The girls exchange confused looks and ask what an Apollo even is, which shocks Arisu deeply because he is completely convinced that Apollo must be one of them. Then, it suddenly occurs to Arisu that Apollo may be deliberately hiding her identity, causing him to regret mentioning her so directly, and decide that he will have better opportunities to investigate later without drawing suspicion. He turns to leave, but the girls coldly stop him and tell him never to show his face in the broadcasting club again, because outsiders are not allowed, which triggers a memory of Apollo telling him that she wants to pursue a career using her voice. Acting quickly, Arisu proposes a deal, offering to provide them with new, high-end equipment that will drastically improve their sound quality if they allow him to remain in the club. Finding the offer impossible to refuse, the girls agree, and to show their gratitude, they collectively lean in and whisper, "I love you," into his ear. Those words send Arisu spiraling as they remind him of the moment when he once confessed his feelings to Apollo, and the memory overwhelms him enough that he panics and rushes out of the room. Soon as he regains his composure, he reminds himself that he is no longer a naive child, and resolves to find Apollo not out of romance, but to ensure that she can never use their past connection to blackmail him once he inherits the Yamabuki group. The following day, Arisu decides to carefully observe the broadcasting club members and gather detailed notes on each of them. And when he enters the club room early in the morning, he finds only Shinobu, who explains that she arrives ahead of everyone else to practice because she tends to make mistakes during broadcasts. As Arisu attempts to speak, she silences him and immediately prepares for the morning announcement, prompting him to watch closely while reviewing the information he has gathered on her. Shinobu, serving as vice president of the student council, and when she excited, creeping her out, forcing him to, and while shaken, he recalls the casually counters that her fans do Because of that determination, Arisu once promised himself that he will someday learn proper voice support techniques so that he can help her achieve her dream. Later that day, Shinobu goes live again and performs poorly as usual, and without thinking, Arisu hijacks the microphone and announces that he has had enough of the broadcasting club's mediocrity, declaring that he intends to force everyone to improve. Before he can say anything further, the girls physically throw him out of the club room. Moments later, Arisu receives a notification that leaves him breathless. For the first time in years, Apollo goes live. She admits she cannot reveal her identity, but confesses that she loves him alone, and her voice is clearly coming from the broadcasting room. Arisu keeps wondering why Apollo would be inside the room and still refuse to meet him. For a second, he considers barging back in and demanding to know which of the four girls is the mysterious singer, but he stops himself, deciding that if Apollo wants to stay hidden, he will not act like a desperate creep and force the issue. Instead, he swears to uncover the truth one day, and, until that glorious revelation, he will grind like a maniac to help all four girls achieve their dreams. From the very next morning, he turns into an over-enthusiastic boot camp commander. He drags the girls out for training, preaching that a fit body sharpens the voice. The girls think 6 in the morning is an ungodly hour, especially Iko, whose only real ambition at that moment is inhaling ice cream instead of jogging. Arisu, however, runs backward like some show-off superhero and still moves faster than everyone else. After what feels like a marathon, he declares the session a simple warm-up. Nene snaps that they have known him for only a day and nobody appointed him coach, but Arisu, dripping with arrogance, announces that perfection runs in his veins and therefore only he is worthy of the role. Shinobu tries to calm the rebellion, admitting that the guy might be annoying, but at least he is genuinely trying to help. Otherwise, none of them would have shown up. Rikka fires back that each girl has a different dream and wonders how this self-proclaimed genius can judge such separate paths. Arisu doubles down, claiming there is no task on earth he cannot conquer, though he decides that breakfast is more important than arguing. The girls refuse to eat while soaked in sweat, so after showers and fresh clothes, they meet at a restaurant where Arisu hands each of them a notebook stuffed with plans. Iko receives instructions for auditioning at a VTuber agency. Shinobu gets a course outline for becoming a better anchor. And poor Nene is buried under an entire mountain of books to prepare for the level 3 kanji exam. And as for Rikka, her mission is to write her own songs, perform on the streets, and sell 50 CDs to build her confidence. She is anything but thrilled and asks whether Arisu has ever even touched an instrument. He proudly admits he has never played a single one, only whistled now and then. Rikka explodes, saying a clueless amateur has no right to lecture her about music, but Arisu ignores the meltdown and lectures her about chasing dreams instead of rotting in comfort. When she asks whether he ever gets nervous, he boasts that the Yamabuki family dictionary contains no such word. Rikka calls him a massive liar and storms off, leaving Arisu blinking like an abandoned puppy. Nene explains that Rikka is genuinely talented at singing and writing lyrics, and having a music-ignorant boy judge her wounds her pride. Shinobu defends Arisu, yet the damage is done. The realization hits him like a truck that Rikka thinks he is incapable of learning music. Determined to prove otherwise, he decides to attend her mini-concert at school, which she performs every Wednesday, though she usually avoids her own songs. At the concert, Rikka admits she still feels nervous every time, a confession eerily similar to what Apollo used to say. She sings, and her soft voice matches Apollo so perfectly that Arisu forgets the entire reason he came. After the performance, he apologizes for the morning disaster and praises her talent, again pushing the idea of street performances and CD sales. Rikka shuts him down, telling him to stay out of her personal life, and vanishes. The next day, Arisu avoids the club entirely, and Rikka begins to feel guilty for roasting him too hard. While wandering through school, she notices students yelling at someone outside. To her shock, it is Arisu, clumsily attempting to play guitar in public. She can see from his battered fingers that he practiced all night. She moves beside him to settle the crowd, and they play together. While his performance is painfully awful, exactly what one would expect from a single night of learning, but the courage impresses Rikka. Later, she compliments his insane confidence, claiming he truly might never feel nervous, and Rikka suddenly hugs him just to test the theory. This time, the fearless warrior actually gets nervous, exposing his bluff. Meanwhile, Nene has become mysteriously busy. Arisu nags her about kanji practice, but she keeps escaping with lame excuses. Shinobu notices the change and points out that whenever Nene lies, her ears turn red, meaning she is not annoyed with Arisu, but simply terrible at asking for help. Arisu follows her to a classroom and discovers her secretly practicing voice acting. He notices that her tone is soft and adorable, like a kitten begging for attention, yet her delivery is emotionless and dull. Arisu criticizes the performance, earning a book to the face and a lecture about manners. He spots the manga she is reading and learns that it is a hugely popular story, soon to receive an adaptation seeking voice artists. The plot revolves around a princess secretly in love with a knight, unable to confess because of her royal status. When the knight dies before her eyes, she cannot even cry openly, so she pretends to wipe dirt from his helmet and steals a hidden kiss as a final goodbye. Nene finds the tale heartbreakingly emotional. Arisu, surprised by her taste, leans in too close and freaks her out. She orders him to leave so she can practice, but he stubbornly stays and begins sharing his own embarrassing memories, including a middle school trip where he shamefully wet the bed, proving that the so-called perfect hero is actually just another chaotic idiot trying way too hard. Arisu continues his parade of shame, confessing that even at the dentist, he once wet his pants, unloading one humiliating memory after another like a broken embarrassment vending machine. Nene finally opens up. She admits that it is not that she refuses to show emotions. She simply cannot feel the character at all. The manga heroine is in love. Without those real feelings, she believes her voice acting will always sound fake. Arisu wastes no time and dramatically drops to one knee, proposing the most ridiculous plan imaginable. She should become his girlfriend for 3 weeks, exactly until the audition date. Nene stares at him like he has escaped from a mental hospital. He explains the strategy with full seriousness. For 3 weeks they will live like the manga couple. He will act as the loyal soldier and she as the delicate princess. Through this fake romance, she will awaken genuine emotions and deliver perfect acting. Nene initially declares she would rather die, but Arisu reminds her that this is for her dream, not his. And since the manga is her favorite, she reluctantly agrees. From that day, the two begin performing love in broad daylight, and the entire school loses its mind. Students gossip about how a princess could fall for a random soldier, mirroring the manga storyline. Arisu and Nene hold hands, stroll around like real lovers, and reenact scene after scene from the book. He lifts her into his arms, copies iconic panels, and basically turns school life into a live-action cringe festival. Nene realizes with horror that the final chapter of the manga ends with a kiss, meaning she might actually have to lock lips with this lunatic after 3 weeks. Days pass as they complete every ridiculous task from the story, boating together, dramatic embraces, endless cheesy dialogues. Finally, the last day arrives, the moment of the legendary kiss. Nene becomes a nervous wreck, wondering if Arisu planned all this just to steal one smooch. Yet, she also knows he is not that kind of guy. Rules are rules, so she even applies lipstick and prepares herself like a soldier marching to doom. When she approaches him for the final scene, Arisu suddenly refuses. Nene is shocked, demanding to know why he is backing out after they practiced everything. Arisu calmly says they have trained enough and that such a moment should be saved for someone she truly loves, not wasted on an experiment. Nene cannot decide whether to scream at him or feel touched. She simply warns that he will regret this day and storms off to the audition. After returning, she reveals the brutal truth: she was rejected. Arisu almost faints, devastated that his supposedly flawless plan collapsed like a cheap plastic chair. Nene explains that neither of them was at fault. The author had already chosen favorites, and the audition was just a formality. Arisu lies down in despair like a dead knight who has lost all hope, and the scene mirrors the ending of the manga perfectly. Seeing this, Nene reenacts the final chapter herself. She bends down and secretly kisses the cover of the book instead of him, just like the princess kissing the knight's helmet so nobody notices. Arisu, however, catches on and grabs her, accusing her of kissing him and teasing that maybe she has fallen in love. Nene turns tomato red and slams him to the ground, screaming that she hates him more than anything. The other girls wisely stay out of the battlefield to avoid becoming collateral damage. Arisu whines that he had no idea she despised him so much, but Shinobu reminds him of one crucial detail. Whenever Nene lies, her ears turn bright red, and right on cue, her ears are glowing crimson, proving that her "I hate you" declaration was nothing but a massive lie. The girls are casually changing clothes inside the broadcasting club room when the door suddenly swings open, and Arisu walks straight in, freezes for a split second, and then does the one thing no sane person would do. With a dead serious expression, he scolds the girls, lecturing them about how they are in high school now and should act responsibly, at the very least remembering to lock the door, because if someone else had walked in, the consequences could have been serious. Rikka bristles and asks why he is giving them such a long lecture, but Iko quickly tells her not to question him, or he will only keep talking. Shinobu feels genuinely guilty and apologizes, while Nene points out that Arisu is also at fault for entering without knocking. Arisu responds that this is not a private room but the broadcasting room, and he is a club member, though he still apologizes, admitting that he should have knocked and that seeing them like that means they deserve an apology. The girls are stunned because none of them ever imagined Arisu apologizing to anyone. Classes finally end, with Rikka handling the announcement after Shinobu freezes up again and admits her mistake. Rikka suggests grabbing something sweet to celebrate, but Arisu shuts it down, claiming he has personal business to handle and telling the 4 girls to go on without him. Rikka says she would actually like it if he came along, prompting Arisu to tease that he might consider it if she begged properly. He still bails, while Rikka loudly declares she is getting ice cream no matter what. Just as the group is about to leave, Nene suddenly stops everyone and insists they should follow Arisu, arguing that he saw them changing clothes earlier and that it would be beyond humiliating if he ever mentioned it to anyone. She proposes tailing him to catch him in an embarrassing situation, possibly even taking photos if he changes in public. Rikka tries to brush it off as a harmless accident, but Nene refuses to let it go. Iko finds the idea hilarious and immediately signs up. Rikka too gives in as she wonders what the supposedly perfect Arisu actually does when no one is watching, and Shinobu reluctantly agrees since everyone else is already in. They tail him like amateur spies, whispering and imagining all the embarrassing things he might get caught doing. On the train, Nene thinks she has finally struck gold as she spots him reading what looks like an adult magazine. She eagerly zooms in with her camera, only to realize it is just a book about teaching children. Frustrated that he still has not slipped up even once, Nene starts wondering if Arisu ever makes mistakes at all. The girls then keep following him until he walks into a cafe, where they hurriedly dive under a table to hide before he notices them. From there, they are shocked to see Arisu wearing a waiter's uniform, something none of them expected from someone who constantly talks about being the heir to a wealthy family. They cannot believe he lied, wondering whether he said it only to impress girls. They listen in as Arisu tells the cafe owner he needs extra shifts because he requires money. Even the owner asks why someone rich would work like this, and Arisu replies that his father is wealthy, not him, and that he refuses to rely on his family's money, choosing to earn whatever he needs himself. The owner asks him why he needs so much money, and Arisu explains that he wants to buy audio equipment for the broadcasting room and needs nearly 1 million yen, which stuns the girls, who had assumed he would take money from his father to support their club. The cafe owner questions whether spending that much on a school club is excessive, and Arisu admits it probably is, saying that investing in those 4 girls feels like throwing money into a fire. Yet he believes they have talent even if they are not serious now, and he refuses to give up on them until they achieve their goals, no matter how much lecturing or money it takes. Hearing this, the girls are deeply moved and immediately reveal themselves, startling Arisu as all 4 voices hit him at once. Nene teases him about how cute he looks in an apron and snaps his photos. The following day, Arisu sits alone in the broadcasting room, worried that the girls now know about his forbidden part-time job, which the school does not allow and could get him expelled. Iko suddenly enters, and when Arisu bluntly asks if she is there to blackmail him, she denies it, saying that since she knows his secret, she wants to share one of her own. She locks the door and explains that she has been a VTuber for a long time but feels completely stuck, with her subscriber count no longer increasing. Arisu admits he noticed and points out that viewers seem bored, partly because she often does extremely short streams. However, Iko defends herself by listing everything she does, from karaoke and gaming to cooking and drawing, even revealing that she designed her own character. Arisu explains he has watched all her streams and shows her several clips, pointing out that no matter what she claims to feel, her voice always sounds lifeless, making her avatar seem like nothing more than a talking picture. He suggests trying different models or even 3D, but Iko explains she cannot afford that kind of technology. Arisu tells her to leave everything technical to him and redraw her character with different expressions, warning that in the end she still needs to show real excitement herself. They work together for days until the new model is finished, and when Arisu asks her to smile, Iko insists she cannot express emotions well. He locks the door and starts tickling her, trying everything to make her laugh, and after they both fall to the floor, she finally bursts into genuine laughter. Arisu tells her that it is the smile he wants to see, and so do her fans. At that moment, Shinobu, Nene, and Rikka peeked in through the window with a selfie stick, saying they had knocked several times and were worried. But now, seeing them like this, they completely misunderstand the situation. They confront Iko and ask what Arisu did. She panics and blurts out that he touched her and pinned her down, wording that sounds far worse than intended. Nene immediately ties Arisu up, but Iko stops her and thanks Arisu, saying she can finally laugh freely. Arisu advises her to stop faking it and show her real emotions. The next day, Iko goes live with 159 viewers, including students from her school who still do not know it is her. The stream feels no different from before, and Iko nervously explains the new avatar's features without smiling, prompting viewers to complain and accuse her of clickbait as viewership drops rapidly. Panicking, she begs them not to leave, but Arisu steps in and stops the stream, telling her that continuing would only make things worse. He harshly criticizes her, calling her a disappointment and saying she will never achieve her dream, pushing her until she finally snaps and shouts that streaming means everything to her and that she is serious, even if she is afraid to express herself. Shinobu and Nene burst in and reveal that while the video stopped, the audio never did, meaning everything was broadcast live. Iko panics, convinced she is finished, until she sees her viewership jump past 2,000, something that has never happened before. Arisu explains that people like VTubers when they show their real personalities, not when they act perfectly. Iko returns to the stream, smiling and delivers her catchphrase with genuine warmth, driving the chat wild. She ends the stream early because she is still nervous, then later starts a private live stream just for Arisu, thanking him and admitting she knows he deliberately left the audio on to push her into showing her true self. Arisu tells her that her real smile is cuter than any avatar, but at that, her avatar suddenly stops reacting. He wonders why her expressions suddenly disappear again. It turns out she is hiding her face, bright red with embarrassment, because for some reason smiling in front of him feels far harder than smiling for her audience. Days later, Shinobu holds a meeting in the student council room and explains her plans as vice president. She says that since the school is now co-educational, this year's sports festival will be bigger and harder to manage. She urges everyone to work together and tells them to check the notes she prepared. One of the boys asks her, why is her photo attached to the papers? Shinobu freezes when she realizes she accidentally put her own picture in the documents. Shinobu quickly begs them not to tell anyone and promises to fix it. All day, students keep coming to Shinobu and she keeps helping everyone without saying no, and people start to rely on her even more. Later, in the broadcasting room, Shinobu explains what needs to be done for the sports festival: announcements, live commentary, score updates, and more. Rikka suggests splitting the work and asks who will do what, including writing the scripts. Nene reminds them that Iko and Rikka did the scripts last time, and Iko remembers how badly it went, even missing the tennis match commentary. Shinobu offers to handle the scripts herself. When Rikka asks who will manage the scores, Shinobu volunteers again. Before anyone notices, most of the work ends up with her. Nene points out that Shinobu is taking on too much and says they should share the load, but Shinobu brushes it off, saying she managed last year and can do it again. Arisu suggests why the broadcasting club doesn't do something special for the sports festival to give it a boost. Nene jokes about opening a maid cafe, but Arisu shuts it down as unrelated. As more silly ideas come up, Shinobu says she'll handle it and quietly takes on even more work. Later, everyone plans to go out for karaoke, but Shinobu declines because much work awaits her. And Arisu also chooses not to go. He watches her, making her uneasy, until she sees he offers her a throat lozenge and says he hears a change in her voice and thinks her throat is sore. When she asks about the secret, Arisu says sweets are forbidden in the Yamabuki family, and if his family learns he carries candy, they will cast him out. Shinobu thinks of how many people came to her all day with their own needs, yet no one noticed her sore throat except Arisu, and she thanks him. He says he notices because he always listens to her voice and watches her. He asks why she works so much and never leans on others. She explains she wants to be a vice president. He tells her she does not have to do everything alone and can rely on others, especially him, and that she does not need to be perfect with him and can treat him as a friend. Just as he turns to leave, Shinobu takes his hand and asks him to help her, saying she will be alone at school that night and would feel safer if he stays. They go to the library to decide what to do, and before they begin, Shinobu asks him to close his eyes until she tells him to open them. Arisu agrees but warns her not to do anything strange, then suddenly opens his eyes and sees her about to feed him chocolate. He jumps back and shouts that a Yamabuki never eats chocolate. She says the student council is stressful and chocolate helps her cope, and she eats much of it in secret because she could be fined if caught. She tells him only he knows this secret and tries to feed him chocolate so he will not tell anyone, but Arisu refuses again. Shinobu says there are only 2 of them, and they have only 1 night to finish everything. Still, Arisu reassures her with confidence, saying she stands before a Yamabuki and that what would take a normal person all night, he will finish quickly. Encouraged, Shinobu admits she has never spoken honestly about her feelings. She compares herself to chocolate, saying that, just as chocolate is made from many ingredients, she is trying to do too much at once and feels she has no clear identity. She says Iko is serious about voice acting. Rikka works hard on her singing, and everyone else is moving toward their goals, while she feels she cannot keep up. So instead of chasing her own dreams, she supports theirs. Arisu says he also has noticed she is not serious about her own dream, and reminds her that she once said she wanted to become an anchor, then asks again why she refuses to rely on others. Shinobu explains what happened at last year's sports festival. Nene kept getting names wrong, Iko broke equipment, Rikka fell ill, and the event failed. Because of this, Shinobu decided to handle everything by herself this year. Arisu reacts at once, asking what she means by final year, and she explains she plans to leave the club to focus on her studies because her grades are falling. She says she needs to enter a good university to improve her language skills and become an anchor. He tells her she does not need to quit the club and can manage both, and he promises to help her with studying, voice training, and everything else she needs to reach her goal, reminding her that he promised never to abandon the 4 of them. Shinobu feels overwhelmed by his words, and Arisu adds that she should never think she is inferior to the others, saying she is just as talented and beautiful, but hides her feelings while the others speak openly. Shinobu blushes deeply and says he is only trying to encourage her, though his words clearly make her happy. When she asks him to keep their talk secret, Arisu breaks a long family rule by eating a piece of chocolate, saying this gives her something to use against him and seals their promise, and Shinobu smiles when she realizes he breaks his rule just for her. Later, the preparations for the sports festival are complete, but one question remains. What will the broadcasting club present? Shinobu offers a strange idea. They will tie 2 cups together with a string, like a toy telephone, and students will come to make confessions through the cups without revealing their identities. Sports day arrives, and Arisu rules the field. He wins his races with ease, then at once switches roles and gives live commentary after coming in first. Next comes the scavenger hunt, where players draw slips and must bring what is written to the finish line. It is Iko and Rikka's turn, and they draw their slips. One says to bring the person they trust most, and the other says to bring the person whose voice they like most. Without pause, both run to Arisu, seize him, and demand he come, for they want to win at any cost. Arisu, unwilling to lose, lifts both girls in his arms and runs for the finish, yet they are still too slow and lose. Arisu takes this loss harder than anyone and breaks down, for he has never lost before. Remembering he has another game lined up, he runs to Shinobu at once and learns that their other 2 teammates are injured. Shinobu suggests they withdraw, but Arisu refuses. The game is a cavalry battle, where 4 form a horse and 1 rides on top, and the aim is to knock off the other rider's headband. Arisu sets Shinobu on his shoulders and declares that the 2 of them are enough. The match begins, and Nene, from the other team, steps in front of Arisu and tells him to move aside. He refuses and says it is his game too. Nene warns him not to look at her or she will remember those days. Shinobu, red with embarrassment, because Arisu is carrying her, has her headband taken and they are out at once. Nene's team moves on, but when she looks back, jealousy stirs in her. She wonders why Shinobu and Arisu are always so close, and what truly lies between them. She scolds herself, saying she has no right to meddle in their lives, and, in her distraction, her team is defeated as well. After a short break of 15 minutes, most events end, and the time comes for the broadcasting club's turn. They reveal their game, a cup and string microphone that lets students speak without showing who they are. Anyone may confess secrets or feelings in this way, and she has even made posters to spread the word. Shinobu explains that she avoided announcing it earlier because the school discourages dating, noting that teachers would have shut it down if they had known in advance. At that exact moment, a voice asks if they really think it cannot be stopped. Shinobu freezes in fear, for their supervising teacher, Lemon, stands before them. Lemon asks what they are planning. They explain that it is a confession booth using 2 cups tied with a string, where students can secretly confess their love, and that, through this, the broadcasting club will become famous. Nene admits that school rules forbid relationships, yet says students can still confess their feelings through the club, so the rule is bent rather than openly broken. Lemon refuses, saying the rules are rules and cannot be broken. Rikka says she expected that answer, and that Lemon has been negative from the beginning. Lemon replies that she is a teacher, wants things to remain peaceful, and does not want trouble. The others respond that if she wanted such a safe life, she should not have become a teacher, but Lemon does not listen. Then Arisu steps forward and introduces himself as Arisu Yamabuki, offering to explain the plan's benefits. He begins to present his reasoning, but Lemon interrupts him, calling him annoying and arrogant. Arisu is taken aback, for people rarely speak to him so bluntly. Shinobu then pleads with Lemon, asking her to allow it, saying she wants to become an anchor and that this is a rare opportunity. She reminds Lemon of last year, when the whole school looked down on the club after they ruined sports day. This year, everything is running smoothly, and people are enjoying it. If the festival ends well, the benefit will not only be for the club, but also for Lemon. Her name will spread through the school, because her students succeed, and her respect will rise among parents and students. After hearing this, Lemon sits down and tells them to stop standing around and get to work. Nene says how practical and self-serving Lemon is. Once she understands what she gains, she agrees at once. No sooner do they solve one problem than another rises before them: how to spread the flyers. Shinobu suggests throwing them from the window, but Lemon stops her at once and tells them to look outside. Samejima, the PE teacher, stands guard, separating boys and girls and making sure no one gathers. Lemon warns that if they throw even a single flyer and it falls into his hands, the entire plan will collapse. Nene proposes sending a group message, but Rikka reminds her that not every student has the club's contact. Then Lemon declares they should leave Samejima to her. She will distract him while the others hand out the flyers, and afterward, they will proceed. Nene questions why Lemon now calls it her plan, when moments ago she stood against it. Lemon goes out to Samejima and suggests he take a short break. The way she speaks makes him agree without hesitation. She keeps him occupied so the others can move quickly. They must gather the students quickly and avoid the other teacher's eyes. Nene gets an idea. She gathers all the girls. When Arisu tries to join, they drive him away, saying, "Boys have no role in this." Nene explains the plan. The girls will cosplay to draw attention. When students approach them out of curiosity, they will hand out the flyers. Everyone agrees except Rikka, who feels embarrassed, but Nene insists they do this for Shinobu. At the same time, Lemon runs from Samejima and hides behind Arisu, pleading for help. When the girls spot Samejima nearby, they scatter as well. Amid the confusion, the flyers spread, and no teacher caught on. Next, they settle the matter of privacy. One by one, students will enter a dark room outside the broadcasting room and speak through a wired phone to Shinobu. She will broadcast their words, but no one will know who is speaking. Lunch break begins. Shinobu steadies herself and makes the announcement. During lunch, anyone may come alone to confess a secret or share their feelings with the person they like. Samejima objects at once, declaring that nothing like this will happen while he is present. Yet Lemon returns and calmly persuades him to have lunch with her instead, leading him away and clearing the path for the plan to begin. The confessions begin. A girl enters the dark room and sends her message through the wired phone. Shinobu listens, then reads it aloud to the whole school. The girl confesses to Shindo of Class 2A. She says she has liked him since the day they met. That they are close friends, and that he likely already knows who she is. She asks him to stand if he feels the same. After a brief pause, he rises to his feet. A murmur spreads through the crowd. Even the teachers admit the idea is unusual. No one knows who sent the confession, and though Samejima would never have permitted this, he has unknowingly been led away from stopping it. More students step forward, surprised at how many choose to take part. The room remains dark, so no faces are seen. One after another, students speak honestly. A boy confesses to a girl, but she gently rejects him because she is already in a relationship. Though he is heartbroken, no one laughs or mocks him, Iko then turns to the girls and asks whether any of them have a confession or even an apology they wish to make. They hesitate, then each admits she does. One by one, the three speak, not to confess love, but to apologize. Though they all speak of the same boy. They say they failed to see how much Arisu works for them, did not give him the respect he deserves, and wish to apologize if given the chance to do so. Everything goes smoothly until Shinobu's microphone suddenly stops working. Her heart drops. But she refuses to let the sports festival be ruined, even if she must shout with her own voice. She says she will inform everyone. She moves to the window, ready to call out across the grounds. But Iko stops her and warns that she will damage her voice, and not everyone will hear her. At that moment, Arisu arrives with a solution, as he so often does. He has stolen Samajima's megaphone. He tells Shinobu that if she wishes to become an anchor, she must stand before everyone and make this day unforgettable. Then he hands her the megaphone. Shinobu hugs him in relief and gratitude, believing everything is about to fall apart, and once again, he has saved her. Arisu tells her he can at least do this much for his crime partner, since they once broke school rules together. More students step forward. Some are accepted, some are rejected, yet each's courage draws cheers. The event nears its end. Then one final message arrives. A girl wishes to confess her love to Arisu Yamabuki. Shinobu steps outside to read it. Arisu notices that this time she does not hesitate. She reads that 3 years ago, worrying the speaker betrayed a boy who always supported her. She disappeared without saying goodbye, ran away, and broke her promise. She feared he would be angry when they met again. Yet even so, he searched for her and helped her reach her dream. The message ends with the words, "Arisu, I love you." The whole school falls silent. No one knows who sent this message, nor how anyone here could have known Arisu from 3 years ago. Arisu remembers Apollo and how she always said, "I love you" at the end of her streams, though it never felt meant for him. This time, it feels real. He wonders why she hides. He walks straight to Shinobu and takes her hand, asking who sent the message. Shinobu blushes, says she did not see the sender's face, and insists it is not her. Yet her trembling hands and the way she reads the words make it seem as though she wishes she could say them herself. Arisu notices, but chooses not to press her. He tells her he does not come to question her, but to say she does well, and the whole school loves her broadcast. Shinobu hugs him once more. Of the 4 girls, she alone openly shows her gratitude to Arisu. The sports festival comes to an end. Lemon is finally free of her duties. Arisu runs across the grounds. At that moment, Apollo's stream goes live, and a message appears asking someone to come to the broadcasting room. Arisu goes there. As to outside the door rests a cup tied to a string phone. From the other end, Apollo's voice calls to him. He asks why she summons him and why she suddenly confesses. Apollo says she is tired. 3 years ago, she left him without a word, and when she sees him again, she cannot hold back her feelings. She wants to tell him how much she likes him, but fear keeps her silent. And now she is weary of hiding. Arisu asks why she does not show her face. Apollo answers in a way he does not expect. She says that is the very reason she has called him here. After the successful event, Lemon-chan hosts a celebration at her apartment. Shinobu asks Lemon why she made everyone change out of their school uniforms before coming. Lemon explains that she cannot allow a party like this while they are in uniform, but if they change into regular clothes, they are no longer under her authority. Before the celebration continues, the group takes a moment to cheer for Shinobu, sincerely thanking her for coming up with the idea that made the sports festival a success. Rikka then suggests they should also cheer for Lemon, since she is paying for everything, which immediately causes Lemon to panic. She insists she never agreed to cover all the costs, and that she thought they would split the bill, but the others ignore her protests and continue celebrating. Lemon then taunts that, although she told everyone to wear comfortable clothes, they all showed up dressed as if they were trying to impress someone. She teases Arisu, implying that one of them is trying to win his attention. Nene quickly denies it, but Lemon calmly explains that since someone already confessed to Arisu, the others must feel pressured to stand out. The girls defend themselves with excuses, but Lemon sees through them. When she asks Rikka directly, Rikka honestly admits that she dressed up so Arisu would call her cute. The others are shocked, as they felt the same but did not admit it. When they look at Arisu, expecting a reaction, he is fast asleep. Rikka tries to wake him, but he does not respond. With no point in staying, Lemon suggests they go out to get something to eat, and the group leaves together. A short while later, Iko returns to the apartment carrying a box and finds the place empty, except for Arisu, who is still asleep. Seeing him alone, she lies down beside him and admits that she had wanted to ask him many things earlier, but he fell asleep before she had the chance. As she watches him, her thoughts begin to drift toward his relationship with Shinobu. She wonders whether he likes her, whether they might already be dating, and even whether Shinobu has kissed him. The more she thinks about it, the more flustered she becomes, and without fully thinking it through, she leans closer and tries to kiss him herself. At that moment, Nene walks in. She immediately pretends not to notice anything and says she only came back to get her wallet, which causes Iko to panic. Trying to act normal, Nene comments on how quickly Iko returned, and Iko explains that she went to buy a gift for Arisu and came back early after finding it quickly. Still nervous, Iko asks if Nene saw anything, and Nene denies it. After a pause, Iko asks Nene if she has ever kissed someone. Although surprised, Nene admits that she has kissed the person she likes, though not directly, and says she still counts it. She is thinking of Arisu, but does not reveal that. Nene then asks if Iko likes Arisu, and after hesitating, Iko admits she feels happy whenever she is with him. Nene also admits that although she usually dislikes boys, Arisu is different. Suddenly, they hear Shinobu approaching and quickly hide under the bed. When Shinobu enters, she senses something is off but ignores it, then expresses her gratitude to Arisu and confesses her feelings. However, before she can finish, Rikka arrives. Shinobu panics and quickly hides under the bed as well. There, she finds Iko and Nene already hiding. She scolds them for hiding and asks if they were listening to her. Rikka then enters the room and begins changing her clothes. While doing so, she complains to Arisu, saying she is upset because she wore that dress just for him. Yet, he did not compliment her. Right then, Iko sneezes, and all three girls hiding under the bed are discovered. Later, Arisu wakes up to find all four girls acting as if nothing had happened. They tell him they brought him cake to thank him for helping them all. Even though the Yamabuki family has a rule against eating sugar, Arisu still eats the cake because he does not want to hurt their feelings. After they finish eating, Lemon brings out another cake. To decide who will eat it, she suggests playing a game in which the loser eats the entire cake. Everyone expects Nene to lose, since she is bad at games. However, as the game goes on, Arisu begins to feel dizzy from eating too much cake. He closes his eyes for a moment and starts thinking about Apollo. While he is distracted, the girls quietly set things up against him. Confident in his move, Arisu pulls his piece, only for the entire tower to collapse. For the first time, he loses and has to eat the whole cake by himself. Rikka performs another street concert, and this time the crowd is bigger than ever. People cheer and keep requesting songs by AKB48, watching from the side, but something bothers him. Rikka is only singing covers now. She isn't performing any of her original songs, and he can't help wondering when that changed, and why. Then he notices an unfamiliar girl in the crowd, watching with clear disappointment instead of excitement. When their eyes meet, Rikka falters and abruptly ends the concert. Arisu immediately senses that the girl's presence shook her. Afterward, he follows the girl and tries to talk to her, but she ignores him. Annoyed, he pesters her until she snaps and calls him irritating. Ignoring that, he asks why she looked disappointed despite Rikka's strong performance. The girl answers bluntly, "Singing well doesn't matter if Rikka only performs covers. Anyone can sing famous songs. If she keeps doing that, she'll be forgotten." She reveals that Rikka used to sing her own songs, but stopped. When Arisu asks if they're friends, she refuses to answer and tells him to leave her alone. Still, her anger makes one thing clear. She cares deeply about Rikka. Later, Rikka sits alone in a karaoke room, staring at blank lyrics. Writing used to come naturally to her, but now nothing comes out. The silence only frustrates her more, and she regrets ever giving up her original songs. Arisu suddenly appears, surprising her, and when she asks how he knew she would be there, he explains that her old friend told him, which immediately prompts Rikka to ask if he met Aiko. He admits he did, and explains that Aiko had watched the concert with anger and disappointment, openly saying she hated that Rikka only sings covers now. Taking that opportunity, he asks Rikka directly why she stopped singing her own songs, but she refuses to answer unless he beats her in a karaoke battle, judged by score. Arisu agrees, even though Rikka is the better singer, and adds his own condition. She has to dance while singing, knowing it will make her nervous. At first, Rikka struggles, flustered by having to dance and sing at the same time, but she gradually loosens up, starts enjoying herself, and performs freely, scoring an impressive 95.9%. Arisu sings next, choosing "Take Us to the Moon" by Hug Notes, but scores only 75%, after which he complains about the machine in disbelief, prompting Rikka to ask why he chose that song. This reminds Arisu of a moment with Aiko, when he once asked her why she owned a Hug Notes shirt, and she said she had had it for a long time, and he realizes that Rikka is also a huge fan of the band. At the same time, Apollo has often heard Hug Notes talk to him, and their voices even sound similar, so the idea that Rikka might be Apollo begins to form in his mind. Despite the score, Rikka declares Arisu the winner anyway, saying the bet was about who performed better, not the score, and that his song choice mattered more, because it is her favorite. So relieved not to lose again, Arisu accepts the victory. Rikka then finally opens up, explaining that she used to sing only original songs, but something happened that made her afraid to perform them in front of others, which is why she now relies on covers. To her, covers feel safe because people already like those songs, and if they dislike her performance, she can blame the song instead of herself. At the same time, what she truly fears is being judged, having her lyrics rejected, her music disliked, or people losing interest because she is not singing what they want to hear. She also confesses that someone very important to her once told her she would never become a good singer, and those words became trauma that still haunts her whenever she thinks about singing her own songs. Arisu tells her he understands, explaining that, as the eldest son of the Yamabuki family, he is forced to speak in public and appear perfect, and that in the past, he was terrified of standing in front of crowds because he believed everyone was judging him. Still, over time, he built confidence through experience. He then tells Rikka that she cannot write now because she is too focused on how people might judge her. And that mindset is what kills creativity. He orders her to meet him on the rooftop the next day and sing her original song in front of an audience. And though terrified, Rikka agrees. The next day, Rikka walks toward the rooftop, feeling betrayed, believing Arisu does not understand her fear and is about to humiliate her in front of the whole school, just like the person who once crushed her dreams, and her heart races as she opens the door, only to find Nene, Iko, and Shinobu waiting there, with no crowd and no strangers, just her friends. Arisu then appears and explains that this is her audience, reminding her that he promised she would have people to sing before, not the entire school, and assuring her that these three will never judge her. Rikka begins to sing her original song, and as she does, she sees her friends' warm, earnest reactions, and the handmade posters they prepared with her name on them. Nene starts crying, even though the song isn't sad. Iko and Shinobu cheer loudly, their support sincere and overwhelming, allowing Rikka to let go and sing freely again, finally. The next day, Arisu takes all four girls shopping, claiming he needs to buy shoes for his little sister. Although Nene complains that he should have brought his sister instead of dragging them along, Arisu explains that since sports day, they have not spent much time together as a team, and that this is not healthy, adding that they do not need to worry about money because he will pay, which causes the girls to scatter in excitement and completely ruins his attempt to keep them together. Shinobu asks Arisu to help her choose clothes, and he seriously evaluates each outfit, praising some and advising against others, until he notices she keeps choosing white and asks why. When Shinobu says she loves white clothes, Arisu is surprised, since Apollo loved white too, making him realize that Apollo could be either Rikka or Shinobu. Before he can think further, Iko drags him to a claw machine because she wants a plush toy but cannot win it. Arisu gets it on the first try, after which Iko hugs him tightly and says she wants her scent on the teddy so it will not feel unfamiliar later, causing Arisu to freeze as he remembers that Apollo used to do the same thing, meaning Apollo could be Iko as well. Then Nene brings him takoyaki with mentaiko, Apollo's favorite food, and at that point Arisu's head spins as all four girls now share Apollo's traits, leaving him right back where he started, completely unsure who Apollo really is. When he asks where Rikka is, he is told she went to watch ducks by the lake, so Arisu rushes to bring her back, while reminding everyone that they are supposed to be spending time together, after which he gathers all four girls and takes them to karaoke, where Rikka jokes that it is just like their first date, shocking the others until Arisu quickly explains she is kidding. At karaoke, Rikka plays another Hug Notes song and says it is her favorite band, which makes Arisu grow quiet, because while many people like white clothes, plush toys, or takoyaki, liking an unpopular band feels too specific to be a coincidence, leading him to wonder if Rikka is trying to hint that she is Apollo. Arisu walks into the broadcasting room as usual and greets everyone cheerfully. Shinobu and the others respond in their normal way, but Nene stays silent, clearly in a bad mood. Arisu notices this immediately and asks her why she does not reply. When she refuses to answer, he chooses not to press her and instead turns his attention to the others, believing she will speak when she feels ready. However, this only irritates Nene further. She suddenly stands up, hits him with a teddy, and scolds him for not showing proper concern as a friend. Arisu apologizes calmly, explaining that he assumed she did not want to talk. Despite that, Nene refuses to explain anything and storms out, leaving him confused. After she leaves, Shinobu explains that Nene has been troubled ever since she joined the theater club. Arisu is surprised because he thought her goal was to become a voice artist. Rikka clarifies that Nene joined the acting club to improve her voice acting skills, but she struggles greatly with expressing emotions. Wanting to understand the issue better, Arisu decides to follow her to the theater club. At the club, he watches a rehearsal where Nene performs alongside a skilled actress named Oizumi. The scene they are practicing involves a girlfriend confronting a cheating boyfriend who begs for forgiveness. When Nene delivers her lines, her performance comes across as overly cute and lacks emotional depth, failing to convey the mix of pain, anger, and lingering affection required. Oizumi criticizes her harshly, pointing out that her acting feels empty and unrealistic. Even when Nene tries again, her expressions become even more awkward, making it clear she cannot grasp the emotions needed. Arisu observes this and understands how serious her struggle is. Later, back in the broadcasting room, the others leave Nene alone so she can calm down. She vents her frustration, arguing that Oizumi's expectations are unreasonable because she has never experienced such intense emotions herself. At that moment, Arisu approaches her. He makes an unrelated comment about her appearance, which only annoys her further. She angrily throws him down, and Arisu quickly points out that the anger she just showed is exactly what she needs for her acting. Nene becomes upset and admits that she cannot produce such emotions whenever she wants. Arisu then suggests a solution. His idea is to act out a scenario where he cheats on her, allowing her to feel the anger and pain required for the role. Although confused, Nene agrees to try. Iko joins them as well, taking on the role of the person Arisu supposedly cheats with. They begin rehearsing the situation, but Nene still cannot react convincingly. She struggles to believe the scenario because she cannot imagine Iko betraying her in that way. Even when Arisu and Iko act more intimately to make it realistic, her response remains weak. However, as she watches them more closely, she starts recalling a past moment when Iko behaved unusually close to Arisu. She also remembers that Iko has already admitted her feelings for him. These thoughts begin to stir real emotions within Nene, making her uneasy. As her doubts grow, Nene secretly follows Arisu and Iko to observe them more closely. While hiding, she sees them acting like a couple. Their behavior appears so natural that she begins to believe it might be real. Iko speaks about revealing their relationship, while Arisu responds that they cannot because of school rules. Hearing this, Nene feels shocked and hurt, questioning why Arisu would hide something like that from her. In truth, everything is still part of the plan. Shinobu and Rikka had suggested that provoking Nene from behind the scenes might draw out her genuine emotions. However, even Arisu and Iko begin to feel uneasy. Despite this, they continue acting to maintain the illusion. The situation suddenly escalates when Iko unexpectedly asks Arisu to kiss her. This surprises everyone, including Arisu. At first, he assumes she is simply trying to strengthen the act, but her seriousness makes the moment feel real. Arisu attempts to handle the situation by pretending, expecting Nene to intervene, but Iko moves closer than anticipated. Even Shinobu and Rikka hesitate. Just before anything happens, Nene finally rushes in and separates them. She angrily scolds both of them. Her outburst reveals the genuine emotions she had been unable to express before. At that point, Shinobu and Rikka reveal that everything was staged to help her improve her acting. Although the plan succeeds in drawing out her emotions, Nene feels hurt by being manipulated and leaves in frustration. Later, Arisu and Iko are alone together. Arisu compliments Iko on her performance, not realizing that some of her actions were driven by real feelings. Iko then asks if he has ever kissed Nene. He denies it, explaining that nothing serious has happened between them. Hearing this, Iko feels relieved. The next day, Nene returns to the theater club for rehearsal. This time, when performing the same scene, she draws upon the emotions she experienced the previous day. Instead of delivering the lines exactly as written, she reacts with genuine anger, Although this differs from the script, her performance feels natural and powerful. Even Oizumi acknowledges her improvement and praises her for finally showing real emotion. After the rehearsal, Nene expresses pride in her progress, while Arisu praises her efforts as well. However, when she asks whether he would have actually kissed Iko, Arisu dismisses it as part of the act. Nene subtly hints that she might not have stopped them under the same circumstances, then quickly changes the subject and walks away, pretending to remain upset. Arisu worries that he may have truly hurt her feelings and decides to follow her. However, it is then revealed that Nene is not genuinely angry. She is simply acting, demonstrating how much her skills have improved. Iko dreams of standing on a grand stage, performing before millions of fans as she celebrates reaching 3 million subscribers. She confidently thanks her audience and reflects on how their support helped her through difficult times. However, it is only a dream. In reality, Iko is still a small VTuber with only a few hundred subscribers. Even so, she continues to believe that steady effort will eventually lead her to success. This day, she overhears a group of boys talking about Blue Box, the most popular VTuber group in Japan. They mention that its leading member, Momo, has just surpassed 3 million subscribers. Hearing this makes Iko feel insecure. She calculates her own growth rate and realizes that at her current pace, it would take more than 100 years to reach the same level. Unlike her friends such as Rikka, Nene, and Shinobu, who all seem to have clear and achievable paths toward their dreams, Iko feels that her own goal of becoming the best VTuber in Japan is nearly impossible. She starts to fear being left behind and even imagines that Arisu might eventually move on without her. When Arisu notices her unusual behavior and asks what is troubling her, Iko reacts emotionally. She lashes out at him and runs away, unable to explain her feelings. In truth, her frustration comes from the conflict within her. Arisu was the one who encouraged her to believe in herself, but now that same encouragement feels like pressure she cannot live up to. Determined to improve, Iko begins studying Momo's content in detail. She discovers that Momo uses advanced 3D models, performs live concerts, dances, cooks, plays instruments, and even excels academically. Compared to this, Iko feels inadequate. Her own content mostly consists of gaming streams and casual chatting, which now seems too simple. Convinced that she must imitate Momo to succeed, she starts experimenting with new types of content every day. However, her attempts quickly fall apart. She begins with a cooking stream, planning to create an impressive cake, but becomes too nervous and makes repeated mistakes, forcing her to end the stream early. The next day, she tries playing an instrument, then shares her exam results, and later attempts a singing challenge aimed at reaching millions of subscribers. Each effort either fails or leaves her exhausted. Arisu confronts her once again, grabbing her hand and demanding to know what is happening. Iko refuses to explain, afraid that he will tell her to give up. She insists that this is something she must face alone if she wants to surpass Momo. Later, as she walks by herself, Iko strengthens her resolve to rely only on her own efforts. During this time, she receives a notification about Momo's latest stream. Watching it sparks a new idea in her mind. Inspired, she announces a special stream featuring a mysterious new outfit, which quickly builds anticipation among her viewers and even her friends. When the stream begins, Iko appears in a swimsuit. Shinobu and Nene are surprised and confused by her sudden change. Although her determination is clear, it becomes obvious that she is moving in the wrong direction, chasing popularity without understanding her own strengths. Despite this, her viewer count rapidly increases. However, the audience begins making unusual requests, but desperate to grow, Iko follows their demands. At this point, Arisu intervenes. He confronts her directly, questioning why she is behaving this way. Iko insists that she has no other option if she wants to compete with Momo. She believes that copying extreme trends is the only way to stand out. As she begins to lose control, Arisu physically stops her. He firmly tells her that she does not need to degrade herself to succeed. He explains that her greatest strength is her voice, something that people could listen to for long periods. Although embarrassed, Iko begins to reconsider her approach. Arisu then offers a more practical solution. Instead of copying others, she should expand her reach by collaborating with different creators. He reveals that he has already arranged a collaboration for her with another VTuber, involving a horror game challenge. The goal is to complete the game as quickly as possible, so they spend an entire week preparing for it together. This gives Iko a sense of hope again, as she believes this could help her grow in a more natural way. However, when the event begins, Iko becomes extremely extremely frightened of the horror game. Every time a zombie appears, she panics and reacts like a scared child, struggling to continue. In the middle of her fear, she blurts out an embarrassing comment, which ends up becoming the defining moment of the stream. Unable to recover from her panic, she is forced to end the stream early, convinced that she has ruined everything. Feeling guilty, Iko apologizes to Arisu for wasting the opportunity. Instead of criticizing her, Arisu shows her something unexpected. Clips of her frightened reactions have gone viral online. Viewers find her behavior genuinely funny and charming, sharing it widely across social media. Although some titles exaggerate her reactions, the exposure significantly increases her popularity. For the first time, Iko realizes that being natural can attract more attention than trying to be perfect. Encouraged by this success, Arisu takes another step and contacts Momo for a potential collaboration. Soon after, Iko receives an invitation to participate in a large tournament-style stream involving many creators. The winner will earn a direct collaboration with Momo. Since the competition involves a racing game, Iko feels confident and motivated. However, the situation does not turn out as expected. She is placed in a group with participants who treat her like a joke, referencing her viral reactions and mocking her. It becomes clear that she was invited more for entertainment than for her skill. Despite this, Iko refuses to give up and tries her best. Unfortunately, she performs poorly and finishes last, becoming the target of public embarrassment. Arisu becomes furious, blaming himself for putting her in such a situation. Iko, however, remains positive. She accepts the experience and appreciates his efforts to help her grow. Shortly afterward, Momo personally reaches out to Iko, apologizing for how the event was handled and expressing interest in future collaboration. She also recognizes Arisu as the strategist behind Iko's recent rise. Understanding the challenges ahead, Arisu promises that they will surpass Momo together. Encouraged by his support, Iko regains her determination and commits herself once again to pursuing her dream. Next day, while the others chat casually in the broadcasting room, Shinobu grows unusually quiet. She sits apart, staring out at the rain with a distant expression. Nene and Rikka notice her mood and ask what is wrong, but Shinobu avoids answering and keeps her thoughts to herself. The group seems focused on preparing for their new broadcast program. The concept is simple. Students will send in questions about love and relationships, and the girls will give advice. Ironically, none of them has real romantic experience, yet they still take on this role. The show begins with its first question, sent by a girl who suspects her boyfriend might be cheating, but feels too afraid to confront him. Instead of offering thoughtful guidance, the girls respond impulsively. Rikka suggests ending the relationship immediately. Iko proposes secretly checking the boyfriend's phone, and Nene even recommends cheating in return as revenge. Their answers lack care and escalate the situation unnecessarily. Shinobu reacts strongly, criticizing them for being reckless, but she instead suggests spying and leaving if evidence is found. Although her response is still flawed, the audience continues to trust her due to her reputation, which surprises Arisu. As the broadcast continues, another message arrives from a boy named Itachi. He explains that he likes a girl who avoids eye contact with him and wonders if this means she secretly likes him. The others hesitate, unsure how to respond, but Shinobu confidently says that it does. Her answer is influenced by her own feelings, as she recalls a similar moment with Arisu and convinces herself it must mean something more. Rikka corrects her, advising that the boy should speak directly to the girl instead of relying on assumptions. The next day, Itachi sends an update. He has asked the girl out, and she has agreed to have dinner with him. Now he wants advice on where to take her. The girls struggle again due to their lack of experience. Iko suggests a casual meal, influenced by a dream she once had about going on a date with Arisu. The group settles on simple and approachable ideas, though their uncertainty remains clear. Soon after, another message from Itachi arrives. This time, he says he is alone with the girl, and the atmosphere feels right. He asks what he should do next. The situation suddenly becomes more serious, and the girls panic. Rikka suggests a hug, while Nene insists he should go further and attempt a kiss. Their disagreement quickly turns into an argument, with each defending her opinion despite having no real experience. Iko grows concerned that their conversation is still being broadcast, but before they can act, Arisu reveals that the microphone has been on the entire time, meaning the whole school has heard everything. Embarrassed, Nene immediately ends the broadcast. The group panics, fearing their reputation is ruined. At that moment, Lemon arrives and reveals the truth. She explains that she is the girl Itachi was talking about. Her behavior, including avoiding eye contact, was not due to hidden affection, but because she was trying to avoid someone who had been bothering her. This revelation exposes how incorrect the girl's advice was and highlights how easily they misread the situation. After the misunderstanding is resolved, the group attempts to recover. Iko quickly announces to the entire school that everything said earlier was part of a fictional story meant for entertainment. She does this to protect Nene and Rikka's reputation, even though their lack of experience has already been exposed. Lemon encourages them to continue the show, saying it still has potential and benefits the broadcasting club. As they move on, the mood shifts when Arisu casually calls Iko by her first name. This immediately draws attention, as using a first name implies closeness. Nene and Rikka react with visible jealousy and confront him, insisting that if he calls Iko that way, he should do the same for them. Although confused, Arisu agreed. When he begins calling them by their first names, both girls become flustered, revealing how much the gesture means to them. Shinobu, however, refuses, saying she would feel too embarrassed. Arisu respects her decision and continues addressing her more formally. Later, Arisu accompanies Shinobu to study together, fulfilling his promise to help her improve her grades. They go to a restaurant where he helps her stay focused. At one point, he even tries to feed her so she will not interrupt her studying, creating an unexpectedly intimate moment. Although she initially resists, the atmosphere becomes quietly personal. When Arisu casually mentions Rikka during their conversation, Shinobu feels a brief sense of jealousy, though she does not show it openly. As they leave, rain begins to fall, forcing them to share an umbrella. In this quiet moment, Shinobu thanks Arisu sincerely, acknowledging how much her grades have improved since he started helping her. Arisu responds by encouraging her, saying that if she continues improving, she will eventually no longer need his help. While he intends this as motivation, Shinobu interprets it differently. In her thoughts, she admits that she does not want that day to come. She values the time they spend together and fears losing that connection. She reflects on her own insecurities, feeling that she has not progressed like the others. Rikka is pursuing music, Iko is gaining attention as a streamer, and Nene is improving her acting. Meanwhile, Shinobu feels stuck and unable to move forward toward her own goals. This leads her to believe that she is not worthy of standing beside Arisu. She sees him as someone who supports everyone else, while she feels she contributes nothing in return. The fear of being left behind grows stronger, and she worries that everyone will eventually move forward without her. However, as she walks beside him in the rain, she gathers her resolve. Watching him quietly, she realizes that if he believes in her, she cannot give up on herself. Even though she feels jealousy toward the others' progress and toward how close Arisu is becoming to them, she chooses not to let those emotions control her. For now, she accepts the distance between them and continues to refuse being called by her first name. However, she sets a personal goal. One day, when she has truly grown and moved closer to her dream, she will accept that closeness. Until then, she resolves to work harder and prove that she deserves to stand alongside everyone else. Arisu and the others visit a plant nursery to choose something suitable for their classroom. As they walk through the rows of plants, Nene quickly becomes irritated, complaining that everything looks the same to her. Iko is focused on finding a cactus, even though none are available at the nursery. The group grows confused as they struggle to decide what to buy. Seeing this, Shinobu turns to Arisu, knowing he has broad knowledge about many subjects. As expected, Arisu explains the different types of plants in detail, including their origins and how to care for them. Impressed by his explanations, the group relies on his judgment and eventually selects a simple plant that is easy to maintain. While the others focus on choosing the plant, Arisu notices something more important. Rikka seems distracted and lost in thought. With summer approaching, she still has not completed the original song she promised for her upcoming mini-concert. Arisu suspects that her hesitation is connected to a past experience that prevents her from performing confidently in front of unfamiliar audiences. Without saying anything, he decides to help her overcome this issue. Their attention is suddenly drawn to a voice nearby. Someone is singing an original song in public. The voice immediately catches Rikka's attention, and she leaves the group to follow it. She soon finds Iko, her former friend, performing on the street with almost no audience. Despite being ignored and even insulted by a passerby, Aiko continues singing with pride, refusing to stop. When Rikka approaches her, Aiko firmly expresses her determination to keep singing, regardless of whether anyone listened. Aiko then reveals what happened between them in the past. She and Rikka once worked together, writing songs and sharing the same dream of becoming successful musicians. At one point, they were offered an opportunity by a music label, but only one of them could be chosen. The label favored Rikka because of her voice. However, instead of accepting the offer, Rikka ran away, unable to face the situation. Aiko expresses frustration at her decision, but also admits that she still hopes Rikka will one day sing the song they created together. Hearing this, Rikka becomes emotional, realizing how strong Aiko has remained despite everything. Meanwhile, Arisu attempts to help Rikka in an unusual way by trying hypnosis, but the attempt fails completely. Even so, he remains determined to support her. Soon after, the day of Rikka's performance arrives. Instead of singing a popular cover, she chooses to perform an original song. At first, the audience reacts poorly because they are unfamiliar with the music and cannot connect with it. However, as the performance continues, some listeners begin to appreciate the quality of her singing. Arisu realizes that Rikka has taken an important step forward by performing her own work. After finishing, she reveals that the song was written years ago with a close friend. This moment helps restore some of her confidence. She decides to move forward and complete her goal of creating 5 original songs for her CD. Although she has already written 4 songs, she struggles to complete the final one. This last song feels different from the others. Rikka explains that it is not just another piece of music, but a personal message meant for someone important to her. Because of this, she finds it difficult to express those feelings through lyrics alone. Seeing her hesitation, Arisu offers to help, and she asks him to meet her at the beach at midnight. At the beach, Rikka explains that it is where she usually writes her songs. The quiet atmosphere helps her think clearly. Arisu encourages her, explaining that music can carry emotions across time and reach people in ways that words alone cannot. His words reassure her, but she reveals the true reason for her struggle. The song is meant for someone she left behind in the past without explanation, someone who trusted her deeply. Now she wants to express her feelings of love and regret, but she cannot find the right way to do so. It remains unclear whether she is thinking of Arisu or Aiko, as both share a significant connection with her. When she asks Arisu how he would feel if someone expressed love through a song, he responds positively, saying it would be meaningful. This gives her some clarity. However, instead of finishing the song immediately, she makes a decision. She will not include this final song in her CD. Instead, she will save it and perform it directly for that person once she has achieved her goal. The next day, Arisu brings Rikka to a park known for street performances. He suggests that she try singing there, just as many artists did before becoming successful. Although she feels extremely nervous, Rikka begins her performance and attempts to sell her CDs. However, her fear quickly takes over. Unlike performing at school, no one stops to listen. People pass by without paying attention, and her confidence begins to fade. Her voice weakens, and she starts to believe that she has made a mistake. Overwhelmed by doubt, she stops singing and nearly gives up. At that moment, Arisu points out that she is not alone. Hidden among the crowd are Iko, Nene, and Shinobu. They had come to support her despite being told not to, pretending to be strangers who just happened to pass by. Rikka immediately recognizes them and smiles. Their presence reminds her that she does not need to perform for everyone. It is enough to sing for those who genuinely want to listen. Encouraged by this realization, Rikka begins singing again. This time, her performance is steady and sincere. She pours her emotions into the song, and her voice becomes stronger. Gradually, people start to notice her. One by one, they stop and listen, drawn in by the sincerity of her performance. Among the small crowd, Rikka notices a young girl who reminds her of her own childhood dreams. This strengthens her determination even further. She continues singing with growing confidence, no longer held back by fear or doubt, and more people start gathering around her. Arisu watches her with quiet pride, realizing that if she can keep even a small audience engaged, she will not only be able to sell her CDs, but also prove to herself that she is truly an artist. He hopes she can sell 50 CDs, and for a brief moment, it seems possible. Right then, the young girl who has been listening approaches Rikka and eagerly buys one, praising her song. This simple interaction draws attention from others nearby. Gradually, more people gather, and a few begin purchasing her CD. Encouraged by their response, Rikka gains confidence and prepares to continue performing her remaining songs. However, the situation suddenly shifts when a popular band named Celestial arrives at the same park. Their lead singer announces their return to the place where they first began, marking a special occasion. Almost instantly, the crowd's attention moves toward them. Compared to Rikka, who is just starting her journey, Celestial is already well known, and their presence dominates the space. As the band begins playing, their performance is powerful and energetic, capturing everyone's focus. Even Arisu is surprised by the intensity of their sound. In contrast to Rikka's soft and emotional singing, their music is loud and commanding, drawing the entire audience away. Within moments, the people who had been listening to Rikka forget about her completely. She is left standing alone, overshadowed as if she had never been there. The sudden change deeply affects Rikka. Although she expected challenges, being ignored so completely hurts more than she imagined. Even so, she refuses to stop. Like Aiko once did, she continues singing even when no one is listening. She announces her next song, Half and Half, and begins performing again. On the surface, she maintains her composure, but Arisu can see the pain behind her expression and realizes how shaken she is. As she sings, memories of her past with Aiko begin to surface. Aiko had been the first to recognize her talent and encouraged her to form a band together. They wrote songs side by side and shared a dream of becoming successful. Eventually, their work attracted attention from a studio, but only one of them could be chosen. The studio preferred Rikka because of her voice. Unable to accept leaving Aiko behind, Rikka refused the opportunity. Even though Aiko encouraged her to take it, that moment created distance between them. In the present, Rikka continues singing despite the overwhelming noise from Celestial's performance nearby. Her voice struggles to reach anyone, but she does not give up. Arisu watches and begins to blame himself for bringing her there without anticipating what might happen. He regrets not preparing better, realizing that the situation is pushing her to her limits. Despite this, Rikka shows clear growth. Instead of stopping or running away, she keeps singing with determination. At that moment, Aiko appears. She explains that she came after seeing posters promoting Rikka's performance, which Arisu had put up earlier. Rikka immediately apologizes for leaving her behind in the past, but Aiko dismisses it, making it clear that she did not come for apologies but to hear her sing. Encouraged by her presence, Rikka performs another song connected to their shared memories. When Aiko asks for a fifth song, Rikka admits that she has not completed it yet. Aiko then takes action and directly challenges the Celestial Band, declaring that Rikka will perform their old song, In the Calm of Night. Although surprised, Rikka follows through. Aiko joins her, supporting the performance, and together they complete the song. This moment becomes a powerful reunion, symbolizing the bond they once shared. After the performance, the group gathers to celebrate. Although Rikka manages to sell only 20 CDs instead of her original goal of 50, it still represents meaningful progress for her first street performance. When asked why Aiko does not join them, Rikka explains that she feels shy around new people, but promises to celebrate with her later. Later, Rikka realizes she left her wallet behind at the park, and Arisu accompanies her to retrieve it. As they walk, she reflects on the events of the day. She admits that although she enjoyed performing, the moment when the crowd abandoned her brought back her past trauma. She fears that she may never fully overcome it, as she has now experienced that same pain twice, once with Aiko and now on stage. Arisu blames himself for putting her in that situation, but his sincere concern causes Rikka to laugh softly despite her emotions. She reassures him that even with the pain, the experience was meaningful. In a rare moment of vulnerability, she hugs him, expressing her gratitude and acknowledging that she will never forget this day. Unnoticed by them, their performance catches someone's attention, and a manager from Celestial becomes interested in Rikka after hearing her voice and wants to meet her. This is where Season 1 comes to an end. The story will continue when Season 2 is released. Until then, take care of yourself, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And that is it for today. If you enjoyed this recap, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and feel free to write whatever you want in the comments section. Thank you for watching.